Does anybody really want him in Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bill might pass. I think it's going to happen, but I think it's a fair thing that you're asking. If you look at Raiders attendance, even it spiked the first year and it's been going down ever since. So that's some evidence that there's a novelty factor, and then it'll fall off after that. I also just think about like my typical sort of like bachelor party type trips to Vegas. I'm not sure that we'd want to like wake up and go outside, especially not outside. So I'm hoping it's a dome situation. And even then, like I'm not sure that like a baseball game is like number one on my list of like things I want to hit while I'm in Vegas. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily fit the same way. And I think maybe some people will be like, well, I was planning on going to Vegas this time, but the Cubs are there this time, so I guess I'll just change my Vegas trip to then. I doubt a lot of people are going to be like, I wasn't going to go to Vegas and now I'm going to go to Vegas because there's a baseball team there. I don't see that happening. So it will depend on local fandom. That's going to be the biggest thing, and it's a tiny TV market, and it's not necessarily barking at the chance to like get someone else's team. I think you're totally right when you talk about the Knights being like their own team. That's the most successful franchise in Vegas, and they got their own team. It was born in Vegas.
But how are the other teams keeping their mouth shut right now? Like, because you're essentially, okay, if we move you to Vegas, we have to give more revenue sharing, because isn't the revenue sharing based on the market size and the TV share?
Yeah. So we're gonna go from a big market team basically to having another small market team. I could see one of the things that happens with these ownership votes and these meetings is people think of them as sort of a monolith, but there's really kind of big, medium, and small market owners, and they have different things that they care about. So I could see the big market teams being like, no, I don't want to share my money around another way. And on top of this, the vote, with the owners is going to be, should we waive the relocation fee for him? And if you're the Yankees, why should I let this guy move to a smaller market, waive his relocation fee, when it's just going to cost me more money in the long run? So there's still some hurdles to pass, but in the end, I think most owners would relish the chance to get $400 million of taxpayers' money for a new stadium, and they probably want to keep that money train going. So in the end, they'll probably say, good job. You got that 400 million from the taxpayers. I would like that too in a few years. So I'm going to vote for you to do this.
Seriously, it's funny. Like billionaires, if you're high-fiving an owner for stealing more tax money, you are a loser.
Okay, I'll just say this. Other owners, they like Fisher.
Yeah, he's like a Selig frat brother or something. He's in
Other owners
in that
like
group.
John Fisher.
Go on. What do they like about him?
They like him.
They know him,
They like him. They
went on fishing trips with him or whatever.
I don't know. They like him. I'm just telling you, they like him.
Okay, well, he loves being a monster. He loves playing monster in real life.
But where is he?
Where is he?
Did we get John Fisher to give a press conference? How does John Fisher not talk to people last night in the media?
I don't even really know what he looks like.
Seriously? I do because the corncornhole had his face on his mouth where they were throwing the bags into his mouth.
That's right. He was everywhere last night. That was funny. But one point about the stadium thing, the economic research suggests that those stadiums do not create the kind of income, tax revenue, jobs that people say. And one way that I would think about it is there's a Tropicana there right now where they want to be, right? So there are lots of jobs there right now. There are people that are bartenders and maids and whatever, all sorts of jobs there that are then they're going to get rid of the Tropicana. So that's zero. So that's a loss of jobs. And then the new jobs you bring in are going to be very similar, but 4 years down the line. So what ends up happening is you create some short-term construction jobs, but construction is kind of one of these jobs where you go where the job is, right? So it's not necessarily you created these jobs, you just moved them to Vegas. They were on a big construction project at the Hoover Dam and they all moved down to Vegas to build this, or they moved from one thing to one hotel to another. So in terms of long-term like job growth, it doesn't work out. In terms of tax revenue, it doesn't work out. Basically, you give the owners this whole tax exempt status, you give them $400 million, and you never get any money back from that. So that's what the research says. It is basically a money grab.
Unless you can do what the Braves did and the Cardinals have done.
You don't need that. Vegas already has
do
it.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if you
create a.
have you ever been to the Battery in Atlanta?
I haven't.
It's unbelievable. It's
the
unbelievable.
Place, it's about the stuff around it, right?
They created a city.
They created their own little town.
Yeah.
And everything in there, they get a cutoff of parking.
Yes.
There's hotels, there's apartments, there's businesses, there's restaurants, there's bars. And my wife and kid are just there now. There's no Braves game. You can't get into a restaurant. And the Braves aren't even in town. So it is the place to be. And you go to Cardinal Village in St. Louis, it's the same thing. Yeah. So the way to make it work is to buy a huge piece of land, build the stadium, and then own everything around.
They wanted to do that in Oakland.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, it's still a bit of a cash grab because a lot of that stuff is tax exempt. So there's business happening there, and yes, there are some jobs happening there, but the tax revenue from those restaurants and all that stuff, a lot of that's tax exempt. So it's still a kind of a bad deal for taxpayers. Now, will it create some peripheral jobs? I think so. I mean, I think San Diego is a bit of a success story. The gas lamp is way better than it used to be. They've extended that. Barrio Logan is better around it. So, I do think that stadiums can be helpful. But another thing that stadiums do, if you've noticed, is create a lot of parking lots. How many stadiums you've been to that are surrounded by parking lots? So if they could do what you're talking about and surrounded by much more interesting things than parking lots, then we can start talking. But generally, it's a bad deal for taxpayers.
And I know who's not friends with John Fisher going fishing with him. So Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner was asked yesterday about the A's uncompetitive on-field product. Quote, anytime a team is putting out a product that's not good for the industry as a whole, yes, I'm absolutely concerned about that. And he said this applies to more than one team. And the other quote that got me was, hold on, here it is. What really gets me going in a negative way is owners that aren't putting money into the team when they could be. That's from Hal. And some owners probably go, oh, you're the Yankees, you're rich. Okay, well, the Yankees are worth a lot more. Any complaining ever by an owner, sell the team.
Yeah, there's plenty of guys
they
lined
put
up
on
to
the
buy
shirts. People, there's others. Remember like Castellini last year, the famous Reds quote, you stuck with us.
Yeah, you don't have another option.
Yeah. No other human could run the Reds like him, right?
Yeah. I think that's a surprising amount of honesty there from Hal Steinbrenner.
I agree. I thought it was great, right? And that sets up already, the battle that you'll have probably again when the next collective bargaining agreement comes up, because what people don't realize is there's fighting between the players and the owners. There is just as much, if not more, fighting, and that's part of Rob Manfred's job, between owners, right? Small market owners who still want to profit their asses off, but then also want to win and just have it all and have their cake and eat it too. And they're jealous of the big market owners that are making money and are able to spend more and are looked at by their fans and their community more as heroes versus some of the losers that we talk about all the time, like Fisher and Bob Nutting.
Before they get a single fan in the building, most teams have about $100 million coming in from national TV deals, local TV deals, sponsorship, and stuff like that. So when a team, spends $60 million on the payroll, I think somebody like Hal Steinbrenner is like, what are y'all doing with the other 40, 50, 60 million, And so I think it's, that is part of the battle that people don't see as much between, like I was saying, between the big markets, the small markets, and the guys in between.